besides chores. I think I'm just recovering as if I've like worked hard or something, but I don't know, it was a really long journey, you know. All right, my bad. No, don't be sorry, don't be sorry, don't be sorry, don't be sorry. It's always good to remind me, 100%. There's also a Warcraft 3 tournament going on right now, so I'll be in and out. Is no one, am I just going to be reading to myself? Oh well, yeah, that's okay. That's what I do anyway, it's fine. But have fun, everyone. Have fun with your Warcraft 3 and your Phasmophobia and whatever you're lurking for, Zento, as well, yes. Alright, well, here we go, here we go. I suppose that means I can make a lot of progress, to be fair. No, I'll be listening the entire time, just chatting intermittently. No problem, don't worry. No one is forced to be here, I hope. Yes. Anyway, let's actually start going. Oh my god, it's so annoying to read books like this. Chapter 7. What is that? Anaik asked, trying not to gag at the stench. Her belly was already empty, and her throat and chest ached. That's the midden, Wemredel said. Of the 4 lower middens, Bolster has the richest scent. Rich? Anaik drew another breath. This one worse than the last. I wouldn't describe it as rich. How far away is it? We've still some way to go, Wemredel said. Then defensively, if you wouldn't say rich, then what? Savor the layers of complexity, the contrast of ripe, rotten, and almost raw, the depth and diversity of it. No, wait. When we're there, you'll understand better. Appreciation will come. Anaig somehow doubted that. It seemed more likely that her lungs would close themselves and suffocate her rather than take in more of the waxing stench. As they progressed, the floors and walls of the tunnels became first slick and then coated in a dank, putrid sheen. And she began to picture herself climbing up through the bowels of some enormous beast. What is this place? She asked. Where is it from? This place? The whole island, floating mountain, whatever you want to call it. Oh, you mean Umbriel? Umbriel? Yes, Umbriel is called. And why is it here? Again he looked puzzled. Here, he said. No, I mean, why have you come to my world? Why are you attacking it? Well, I am not, am I? I'm just in the Bolster Midden. Yes, but why has Umbriel come here? She persisted. I've no idea. Doesn't matter. People are dying down there. There must be a reason. He stopped and scratched his head. Well, yes, Umbriel needs souls. Lots and lots of souls. There's no secret there. But he could get those plenty of places. If you're asking why in particular, I'm afraid I've no way of knowing that. You mean it's just feeding? Anaig asked, incredulous. Well, we've lots of mouths to feed, don't we? He replied with an air of diffidence. Why do they become, if their souls are taken up here, why do their bodies keep going? Do I really have to explain this? If I'm going to help you, I think I deserve whatever explanation you can give me. Oh, very well. Look, something beneath us dies. The soul spinners nick the soul with their lines, and then the larvae fly down and get all snug in the bodies, which then harvest more souls. You see? The larvae have wings and round heads. Yes, see, you do know this. I saw one of them, she replied. It seemed like it should have been perfectly capable of murder on its own. In Umbriel, sure, but they have to leave Umbriel to find souls, which means they lose their substance. So that's what I saw, Anaig said. But why? Why what? Why do they become ethereal? That's a big word, Wemredel said. Yes, but I don't know, Wemredel said. I've never thought about it. You fall in the water, you get wet. Stray from Umbriel, you lose substance. It's just how things are. Anaig digested that for a moment. Very well, but how does it start? I mean, if larvae can't kill anything unless they have a soulless body to steal, how do the first ones get bodies? I don't know that either. And what becomes of the souls? Most go to the ingenium, which keeps Umbriel aloft and moving. Some go to the verumasas. I don't know that word, she said. What does it mean? The place where they prepare food, where the furnaces are. Kitchens? You people eat souls? Not all of us. I don't. I'm not that elevated. But them at the top, and Umbriel himself, of course. Well, they like their delicacies. We don't see that in the midden, do we? And yet you were licking the cable, she said. He blushed. It's not against nature to want to taste, is it? Just a little taste. Anaig had a sudden unpleasant thought. Are you Daedra? What's a Daedra? Wemriddle asked. You've never heard of Daedra? She asked. But didn't this city come from Oblivion? Wemriddle just looked blankly at her. There are 16 Daedric princes, Anaig explained. Some are just, well, evil. Mehrunes Dagon, for example. He tried to destroy our world back before I was born. Others, like Azura, aren't supposed to be so bad. Some people worship them, especially the Dunmer. But besides the princes, there are all sorts of minor Daedra. Some people can conjure them and make them do their bidding. We do the bidding of the lords, Wemriddle said. If I were a Daedra, would I know it? Maybe not, Anaig realized. What is the name of your highest lord? Umbriel, of course. There's no prince that goes by that name, she mused. Although I suppose a Daedric prince could be known by any number of names. Wemriddle seemed entirely disinterested in the conversation, so she let it drop. She had so many new questions now, she didn't know what to ask next. So instead of questioning him further, she filled Glim in on what Wemriddle had been telling her. It's horrible, she said. What if it's really aimless? If our world is being destroyed just so this thing can keep in the air? What if there is no other agenda? There must be more to it than that, Glim responded. There has to be. Otherwise, why would Umbriel ally with the city tree? Why would it spare anyone? Maybe it didn't. If the tree is insane as you think, it might have just imagined an alliance. It's possible. He snicked his teeth together. You were right in a way, he said. It sounds as if we were to stop the flow of souls to this ingenium of theirs, then this would turn into just another rock. Maybe. Could it be that simple? I doubt it will be simple, the Argonian replied. They walked in silence for a bit, while Anaig turned it all over in her head. While they finally reached the bolster midden, she was sure of her early impression, for she could think of nothing to compare it to other than the gorged, bloated stomach of a giant. And the smell, well, it was bad. Glim's nictating membranes kept shutting, and Glim could wade through the most noisome fen without really noticing. But this wasn't a noisome fen. I don't know what that is, but okay. And she was, in fact, beginning to understand Wemriddle's bizarre assertion. Animal was here, sweetly, sulphurously rotten, but there was also blood, still so fresh she could taste the iron in the middle of her tongue. She made out a rancid oil, buttery cream, old wine-braising liquid, fermenting again with strange yeasts and making pungent vinegars. Fresh herbs mingled with the cloying moulder of tubers, and onions gone to liquid. Best of all, with 1,000 things she didn't recognize. some deeply revolting and some like a welcome home to a place she had never been. Some smells were more than that, not only engaging the taste buds and nostrils, but sending weird tingles across her skin and shimmering colors when she closed her eyes. You see? She nodded dumbly and looked around more carefully. If this was the belly of a giant, he had many esophagi. More stuff fell periodically from 5 different openings in the vaulted stone ceiling. In places, the trash moved. "What's that?" she asked. "The worms," Wemriddle replied. "They keep the midden turning, make it all pure to siphon into the marrow sump." Marrow sump? Oh my goodness, all these words. It's where everything goes. I'm just gonna turn the fireplace down. It's a bit too loud for me. Goodness, I'm trying so hard not to fall asleep right now. It's where everything goes and where everything comes from. That seemed like it would take a longer explanation, so she let it go for more immediate concerns. "What's up there?" she asked, indicating the apertures above. "The kitchens, of course. What else?" He pointed at each of the holes in turn. "Agay, queen, lodum pie, and fexel." "And what do you do down here?" "Hide. Try not to be noticed. They sent us down here a long time ago to tend the worms, but the worms pretty much tend themselves." "So where is everyone else?" "In the rock. I'll fetch them. But first, let me find you a safe place, yes?" "That sounds good," an egg said. A narrow ledge went around the midden like a collar, albeit one whose dog had outgrown it a bit. Here and there they found themselves trudging through offal and pools of putrescence. Light came dimly from no obvious source, but she didn't try to make out what they were stepping through. At last they came to a small cave, rudely furnished with a sleeping mat and not much else. "You wait here," he said. "Try not to make much noise." And with that, Wemriddle was gone. "I can't breathe this forever," Glim muttered. Their guide had been gone for a long time, although without the sun, moon, or stars, it was hard to tell exactly how long. An egg figured it was hours, though. "At least we're breathing," she pointed out. "Well, as long as we're settling for the least," he replied. "Glim." She put a hand on his shoulder. He snapped his teeth. "I need to eat something," he said. "Me too," she said. The weight had given the shock and adrenaline time to wear off, and now she was ravenous. "I can go out there, see what I can sort out." He shook his head. "That's disgusting. Some of it is still food. Stay here. You have no idea what those worms might do, or what else might be out there." "What then?" "I've been thinking," he said. "Not your strong suit. Yes, but I've been doing it nonetheless. 4 kitchens above us, and 4 others middens. Do you know how much refuse that suggests, if this is even close to typical? A lot. Yes, which suggests that somewhere up there a lot of people, or something, are doing a lot of eating. I did see what looked like a city along the rim. I think we're still far below the rim," he said. "Still, I'm thinking there must be thousands on this island at least." "Okay. And Wemriddle, the trash keeper, wants you to help with some sort of revolution against who knows what and who knows how many. There's a Daedra prince up there, for all we know. I'm not sure we want to be a part of this." "So you think we should leave before he gets back?" I think we should go looking for food in the kitchens, see what we're up against. We can always come back here if the trash tender still seems like a good bet. How will we know that until we meet the rest of them? Of whom? Whoever he went to get, the underground, the resistance. You and your books, Glim muttered. Resistance. Look around you, Glim. When people are forced to live in places like this, there's usually a resistance. Lots of people lived like this in Lilmoth, Glim replied. They didn't resist anything. Well, maybe they should have, she retorted. Maybe then the Angst-Lil couldn't have. It was the tree, not the Angst-Lil, the hissed decide. The city tree is psychotic. Maybe. You said it's happened before. One hissed, breaking with the others. You're changing the subject. Fine. We might as well have some opinions. Do you know how to get to those kitchens? Of course not. What was that? What was that sound? Goodness. Now I've lost where we are. Damn it. Oh, there we go. Of course not. But we know where they are. He pointed up. Fair enough, she conceded. Her hand still on his shoulder, she pushed up to standing. Then she noticed some figures approaching along the path that had brought them there. Oops, too late. Wemriddle's back. That's not much of a resistance, Glim noted. 6 besides him. At least are armed. Like Wemriddle, they all appear to be human or mare. They wore uniforms, yellow shirts, aprons, black pants, and they carried an assortment of large knives and cleavers. The only one who was dressed differently was a fellow with thick, curly red hair and beard. His shirt was a black and yellow tartan pattern. Wemriddle was trailing the lot. The Redbeard spoke. It's true, you're really from the world beyond? Yes, an egg said. And you have knowledge of its plants, animals, herbs, minerals, essences, and so on? Some, she replied. I have studied the art of alchemy. Come with us, then. To where? To my kitchen. Fexel's kitchen. Wemriddle, an egg exploded. You piece of... They'll let me come up, the man simpered. They'll let me work up there. This is for the best. You'll be protected. You need that. Protection from whom? Me, for one, another voice shouted. A second group was approaching, twice as large as Fexel's, and just as heavily armed. Fexel spun. You worm, he roared at Wemriddle. I bargained in good faith with you. I didn't tell her. I swear it. A Nag could make out the newcomer now. She wore a checked indigo and lapis shirt, apron, and indigo pants. Her face was angular, drawn, hard, and her teeth gleamed like opals in the dim light. He didn't, actually, the woman said. One of your own betrayed you. More's the pity for the poor worm, because I don't owe him anything. Wemriddle began a sort of soft wailing. I'll have them, Fexel. I have right, Quinn. I have claim. The Midden is neutral territory. I found them first. Well, you can take it up with someone next time you come out of the sump. She replied, or you can walk back to your kitchen in the meat you're wearing. And Nag could see Fexel was trembling, whether with fear or fury. It was hard to say. It might be worth it, he said. You now outnumber us, but I'll kill you before I go down. Ah, determination, Quinn said, stepping forward, away from her companions. Passion. Do you really have such passions, Fexel? Or is this all superficial, like your cooking? Her arm whipped out, and a bright, bloody line appeared on Fexel's cheek. His eyes widened, and his mouth worked, but for the moment no sound came out. Aneg was still trying to understand what had happened. Queen's hand had been about a foot from Fexel's face, and she hadn't seen a weapon in it, nor did she now. Fexel found his voice. "You crazy bitch," he screeched. Blood pouring through the fingers he had pressed to his face. "See?" Queen said. "Just blood under there, nothing else. Go home, Fexel, or I'll make a pie of you." Fexel heaved several great breaths, but he didn't say anything else. Instead, he left, as instructed, and his followers went with him, glancing back often. Queen turned her gaze on Aneg. Her eyes were as black as holes in the night. "And you, my dear, are you the cook?" I can cook." What is this?" she asked, stabbing her fingers towards Glim. "Mere Glim. He's an Argonian. He doesn't speak Mer." Queen cocked her head. "Mer," she said experimentally, then seemed to dismiss the word, and Glim, with a shake of her head. "Well," she said, "come, then we'll get to my kitchen." Aneg lifted her chin. Why should I?" she asked. Quinn blinked again, then leaned in close and spoke in a casual, confidential manner. "I don't need all of you, you know. Your legs, for instance, not very useful to me. More of a problem, really, if I imagined you were prone to running off." Each word was like an icicle driven in her back. There was no doubt that the woman was serious. Queen patted her on the shoulder. "Come along," she said. And she came, telling herself that this was what she needed to be doing, trying to learn something about the enemy, trying to find out how to stop this unholy thing. But if it was hard to keep that in her head, because she had never in her life been more afraid of anyone she was of Queen. Oh my god. Guys, I'm actually struggling so bad. Chapter 8. Yippee. Oh my god, this is probably the most tired I've ever been all stream. I'm so sorry that you're going through that. Yes. Sorry for the confusion. Goodness. Let us distract with the book, shall we? And I hope your Warcraft 3 tournament is going well as well. Yes. Yes. Chapter 8. "This isn't a kitchen," Aneg whispered to Glim. "This is..." But she had no word for it. Her first impression was of a forge or furnace, because enormous rectangular pits of almost white-hot stone lined up down the center of a vast chamber carved and polished from the living rock. Above the pits, innumerable metal crates, boxes, cages, and baskets depended from chains, and vast sooty hoods sucked most of the heat and fumes up higher still into umbriel, left and right. Red moths gaped from the walls, ovens obviously, but really more like furnaces. Between them, beings strange and familiar crowded and hurried about long counters and cabinets, wielding knives, cleavers, pots, pans, saws, awls, and hundreds of unidentifiable unidentifiable implements. Oh my goodness, these words. I didn't want to put you in a bad... I'm not in a bad mood. Don't worry. Don't worry, I'm not in a bad mood. I just don't want you to misunderstand me. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry if you thought I had forgotten what you're going through. I just hope you're doing okay, okay? Oh, I'm not playing Warcraft 3, just watching. Oh, no, I know. Sorry, that's what I meant. I hope the tournament is going well. I hope your team is winning. Question mark? I don't know if you're actually, like, cheering for one side or anything, or if you're just literally watching neutral. Though the smells here were generally cleaner than those of the Mitten, they were just as varied, and decidedly more alien. So was the staff. Many of them resembled the people she knew. There were, in particular, many who looked like Myrrh. There were others for which, like the place itself, she had no name. She saw thick figures with bright red skin, fierce faces, and small horns on their heads, working next to the ghostly pale blue-haired beings, spherical mouse-like creatures with stripes, and a veritable horde of monkey-like creatures with goblin-esque faces. These last scrambled along the shelves and cabinets, tossing bottles and tins from shelves in the stone that rose 60 feet along the walls. Although in most of the room the ceiling crushed down almost to the level of the tallest head. But Keen led her through all of this, past searing chunks of meat, huge snake-like creatures battering against the bars of their cages as the heat killed them. Cauldrons that smelled of leek and licorice, boiling blood, molasses. Oh my god! Talking about licorice, I tried an English soda yesterday called Dandelion and Burdock, and it was the weirdest soda I have had in my life. And I was like, ew, why does this taste so weird? And then someone mentioned licorice, and I'm like, oh my god, it tastes of licorice. So it's literally like a licorice drink. I'm sure if you had it, say, or any other Scandinavian person, they'd probably be like, no, that's not true. But like, it reminded me of licorice. It was so odd. Dandelion and burdock soda? What the heck? Yes, yes. Apparently, it's a very old school English soda that they usually sell in fish and chips shops. And I had never ever heard of it in my life. I was like, what the fuck? That sounds almost as weird as the breadfruit melon soda I had in Cambodia. Ooh, breadfruit? Bread? What? That sounds weird as hell, yeah. Yeah, there's some weird things out there. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I feel like England kind of has the weird things that Sweden has in their own. Well, actually, sorry, not okay. I feel like the more I think about it, England has a lot of weird things. Like, me and a colleague yesterday were talking about like tea-stained eggs and everything, and how I thought they were weird, but they actually have pickled eggs here too. So to be honest, I feel like England has some really weird as hell things as well. Weird. Wait, maybe it wasn't breadfruit, but it was some weird kind of melon, pumpkin, cucumber kind of plant that tasted a bit like bread. That is so odd. Ooh, now I want to try it though. I'm really curious. It's hard to tell which translator is better. I used to use Google Translate, but then an American guy recommended Deep L to me. I have to say, Google Translate is definitely not a good translator. I would definitely recommend other ones. I've used the Dutch one before because that one was better. But yeah, definitely not Google Translate. It is horrid. It never translates things right. So you're good that you're not doing that. But yes, very weird drink. I wish I could share it with you guys, but you guys don't have it. So, but if you ever come to the UK again, definitely try dandelion and burdock. ChatGPT is a good translator. No. Anyway, after 100 paces, the cooking pits were replaced by tables crowded with more delicate equipment of glass and bright metal. Some were clearly made for distillation, this made obvious by the coils that rose above. Others resembled retorts, parsers, and fermentation vats. Along the walls were what amounted to vaster versions of these things, distilling, parsing, and fermenting tons of material. It was breathtaking, and for a moment, Anaïg forgot her situation in wonder of it. But then something caught her eye that brought it all back. A cable, the thickest she had seen yet, pulsing with the pearly light of soul stuff, and more specifically the life force of the people of Lil Moth. It passed through various glass collars filled with liquid and colored gases, in insectile filaments, and extremely fine tubing coiled and wound into what might be condensation chambers. She felt tears forming and trembled with the effort to keep them back. For the first time since entering the kitchens, Queen spoke. "You like my kitchens?" she said. "I see it." Her throat caught, but then breath came, and something seemed to rise up through her, inflating her. She focused her gaze on Queen's eyes. "It's amazing," she admitted. "I don't understand most of it." "You really know nothing of Umbriel, do you?" "Only that it is murdering people." "Murdering? That's a strange word." "It's the right word. Why? Why is Umbriel doing this?" "What a meaningless question," Queen said. "And how unknowable." She took Anaig's chin between thumb and forefinger. "I'll let you know what questions are worth asking, little thing. Give me all the attention and love you possess, and you will thrive here. Otherwise, it's a sump. Yes? Yes. Very well, my kitchen." She opened her arms as if to take it all in. "There are many appetites in Umbriel. Some are coarse, meat and tubers, offal and grain. Other habitants have more spiritual appetites, subsisting on distilled essences, pure elements, tenebrous vapors. The loftiest of our lords require the most refined cuisine, that which has as its basis the very stuff of souls, and above all they crave novelty. And that, my dear, is where you come in. So that's why you want me to help you invent new dishes? There are many sort of dishes, dear. Umbriel needs more than raw energy to run. The sump needs tending, the fringe gear needs feeding, raw materials must be found or created. Poisons, balms, salves, entertainments are all in great demand. Drugs to numb, to please, to bring fantastic visions. All of these things are done in the kitchens. And we must stay ahead of others, you see. Stay in favor, and that means new, better, more powerful, deadlier, more interesting. And Naig nodded. "And you believe I can help you?" "We've just passed through a void. We were nearing the end of our resources. Now this whole pantry is open to us, and you know more about it than I do. I can admit that. You see, in the end, you have more to learn from me than I from you. But at this moment, you are my teacher, and you will help me make my kitchen the strongest." So it's completely changed how it makes it. Huh, weird. Yeah, it must be adding more artificial flavorings then, I guess, yeah. Interesting, interesting. She shook her head. Oh wait. "And you will help me make my kitchen the strongest." What's to stop the other kitchens from kidnapping their own help? She shook her head. Most of us cannot go far from Umbriel without losing our corpus. There are certain specialized servants we use to collect things from below. The Walking Dead, you mean? Yes, the larvae. Once incorporated, they can be brought here with certain incantations, bearing raw materials, beasts, what you have. But intelligent beings with desirable souls are all already dead by the time you gatherers begin their work. Did you interrupt me? I'm sure you didn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, chef. I'm sorry, chef. Queen nodded. Yes, that's how it is. And those of us in the kitchens don't have the power to send them farther, or the incantations to bring them back here. Once the gatherers move very far from Umbriel, contact is lost. This is good, Anaik thought. I'm learning weaknesses already. Things that will help Atribus. So here we are, she said. Anaik looked at the table Queen was indicating. It was littered with leaves, bark, half eviscerated animals, roots, stones, and what have you. There was also a ledger, ink, and a pen. I want to know about these things. I want you to list and describe every substance you know of that might be of use to me, and describe as well how to find them. You will do this for half of your work period. For the remainder of your shift, you will cook. First, you will learn how things are down here. Then you will create original things, and they had better be original. Right. Let's continue. I don't. It's overwhelming, chef. I will assign you a scamp and a hob, and put a chef over you. That is far more than most that come here are given. Count your fortunes. She waved at one of her gang, a woman with the grey skin and red eyes of a Dunmer. Sleer, take charge of this one. Sleer lifted her knife. Yes, chef. Queen nodded, turned and strode off. She's right, you know, Sleer said. You don't know how lucky you are. Anaik nodded, trying to read the other woman's tone and expression, but neither told her anything. A moment later, a yellowish, sharp-toothed biped with long, pointed ears walked up. This is your scamp, she said. We use the scamps for hot work. Fire doesn't bother them very much. Hello, Anaik said. They take orders, Sleer said. They don't talk. You don't really need it now, so you ought to send it back to the fires. Your hob, she snapped her fingers impatiently. Something dropped through Anaig's peripheral vision as she started, and found herself staring into the pair of large green eyes. It was one of the monkey-like creatures she'd seen on entering the kitchen. Closer up, she saw that, unlike a monkey, it was hairless. It did have long arms and legs, though, and its fingers were extraordinarily long, thin, and delicate. Me! It squeaked. Name him, Sleer said. What? Give him a name to answer to. The hob opened his mouth, which was both huge and toothless, so that for an instant it resembled an infant, and more specifically looked like her cousin Luke when he was a child. What the fuck? It capered on the table. Luke, she said. You'll be Luke. Luke, me, it said. I'll be back to get you once it's time to cook, Sleer said. This you'll do on your own. She glanced askance at Glim. What about him? He knows as much about these things as I do. Anaik lied. I need him. Very well. And Sleer, too, walked off to some other task. Anaik realized that she and Glim were alone with Luke the hob. Now what? Glim asked. They want... I didn't understand the words, but it's pretty clear what they want you to do. But are you going to do it? I don't see I have much choice, she replied. Sure, no one is watching us at the moment. We could escape back to the midden through the garbage chute and then... Right, she said. And then what? Okay, he grumbled. Use some of this stuff to make another bottle of flying stuff. Then down the chute, back away, gone. I thought we were agreed on this. But you'll be helping them, don't you see? Helping them destroy our world. Glim, I'm learning a lot, and quickly. Think about it. This is the perfect place for me. If I could have asked for a better chance to sabotage Umbriel, I couldn't have thought of it anything better. Given a little time, who knows what I can make here? Yes, he said, I see that, but what about me? Do as I do. Talk to me now and then as if you're telling me something. Write down the things I tell you to. Ah. What about that? He asked of the hob. She considered the thing. Look, she said. Fetch me those whitish green fronds at the far end of the table. Yes, look me, the hob said, bounding away and back, burying the leaves. This, Anag dictated, is fennel fern. It soothes the stomach. It's used in poultices for thick eye. She had almost forgotten where she was when Sleer returned hours later. Time to cook, Sleer said. Anag rubbed her eyes and nodded. She gestured vaguely at some of the nearby equipment. I'm really interested in distilling essences, she began. How does this? Sleer coughed up an ugly little laugh. Oh no, love. You don't start there. You start in the fire. What? In the fire? Oh my goodness. My brother just left for his honeymoon in the Carpathians, and here on the very first day, the siren went off. Oh goodness. So does that mean you're all alone, and do you still have family around you? I hope you have people at home to chill with. But there isn't any fire, she complained minutes later as she turned the hot metal wheel. The grill before her rose incriminately. More, Sleer snapped. This is boar, yes? It smells like it, Anag replied. And this goes to the ground workers in Prixon Palace, and they don't like it burned. Like they do in the Oroi mansion, see? So hire, and then send your scamp on the walk up there to swing a cover over it. Anag kept hauling on the wheel. Sweat was pouring from her now, and she was starting to feel herself moving past fatigue into some whole new state of being. What did you mean about there being no fire? Sleer asked. There's not. It's just rock. Fire is when you burn something. Wood, paper, something. Sleer frowned. Yes, I guess fire can mean that too. Like when grease falls, right? But why would we cook by burning wood? If we did, all of the trees in Fringe Gear would be gone in 6 days. That what makes the rocks hot. They're hot, Sleer said. They are, that's all. Okay, send your scamp. She pointed at the metal hemisphere suspended on a boom from the ceiling, and the scamp scrambled up into the metal beams and wires above the heat. He pushed the dome, which ought to have been searing, and positioned it over the smoking hog carcass. Anag kept cranking until the grill came into contact with the dome. There, Sleer said. We're well above the flames. So what else can we put up there? What do we need to cook slowly? We could braise those red roots. The helsh? Yes, we could. She seemed surprised for a moment, but covered it quickly. These little birds, they would cook nicely up there. They would. But those are going to Oroi Mansion, and they like everything burned there. Yes. Anag was sure Sleer almost smiled, but then she was directly back to business. So get on with it, she said. And so she burned, braised, roasted, and seared things for what felt like days, until at last Sleer led her to a dark dormitory with about 20 sleeping mats. A table supported a cauldron, bowls, and spoons. She stood in line, legs shaking with fatigue, helped herself, and then slid down against a wall near the pallet Sleer indicated was hers. The stew was hot and pungent, unfamiliar meat and odd, nutty grains, and at the moment it seemed like the best thing she had ever eaten. When you finish that, I advise you go to sleep, Sleer told her. In 6 hours you're back to work. Anaig nodded, looking around for Glim. They've taken your friend, Slayer said. What? To where? I don't know. It was obvious he didn't know much about cooking, and there's curiosity about what he is exactly. Well, when will they bring him back? Slayer's face took a faintly sympathetic cast. Never, I should think, she replied. She left, and Anaig curled into a ball and wept quietly. She pulled out her pendant and opened it. Find Atribus, she whispered. Find him. Mirglim wondered what would happen if he died. It was generally believed that Argonians had been giving their souls by the Hist, and when one died, one's soul returned to them, to be incarnated once more. That seemed reasonable enough, under ordinary circumstances. In the deepest parts of his dreams, or profound thinking, were images, scents, tastes, that the part of him that was sentient could not remember experiencing. The concept the Imperials called time did not even have a word in his native language. In fact, the hardest part of learning the language of the Imperials was that they made their verbs different to indicate when something happened, as if the most important thing in the world was to establish a linear sequence of events, as if doing so somehow explained things better than holistic apprehension. But to his people, at least the most traditional ones, birth and death were the same moment. All of life, all of history, was one moment, and only by ignoring most of its content could one create the illusion of linear progression. The agreement to see things in limited way was what other people called time. And yet how did this place, this umbriel, fit into all of this? And then, very upsetting indeed. Yes, let's actually now get back to book. Yes. Mirglim wondered what would happen if he died. It was generally believed, I've already read this, believed that Argonians I'll just read it again, had been given their souls by the Hist, and when one died, one's soul returned to them, to be incarnated once more. That seemed reasonable enough, under ordinary circumstances. In the deepest parts of his dreams, or profound thinking, were images, scents, tastes, that the part of him that was sentient could not remember experiencing. The concept the Imperials called time did not even have a word in his native language. In fact, the hardest part of learning the language of the Imperials was that they made their verbs different to indicate when something happened, as if the most important thing in the world was to establish a linear sequence of events, as if doing so somehow explained things better than holistic apprehension. But to his people, at least the most traditional ones, birth and death were the same moment. All of life, all of history was one moment, and only by ignoring most of its content could one create the illusion of linear progression. The argument to see things in this limited way was what other people called time. And yet, how did this place, this umbriel, fit into all of that? Because he was cut off from the Hist. If he died here, where would his soul go? Would it be consumed by the ingenium Wemredel had spoken of? And what of his people so consumed? Were they gone forever, wrenched from the eternal circle of life, of birth and death? Or was that circle, the eternal moment, only the Argonian way of avoiding an even more comprehensive truth? He decided to stop thinking about it. This sort of thing made his head hurt. Concentrate on the practical and what he really knew. He knew that he'd been overpowered by creatures with massive crab-like arms, snatched away from Anaig, and brought here. He didn't know why. Fortunately, someone entered the room, rescuing him from any more attempt at reflection. The newcomer was a small, wiry male, and might well have been a Nord, with his fine white hair and ivory vein-traced skin, and yet there was something about the squarish shape of his head and the slump of his shoulders that made him seem somehow quite alien. He wore a sort of plain olive frock coat over a black vest and trousers. He spoke a few words of gibberish. When Glim didn't answer, he reached into the pocket of his coat and withdrew a small glass vial. He pantomimed drinking it, and then handed it to Glim. Glim took it, wondering how it would feel to kill the man. He surely wouldn't get far, but if they wanted to talk to him, they must want him alive. He drank the stuff, which tasted like burning orange peel. The fellow waited for a moment, then cleared his throat. "Can you understand me now?" "Yes," Mir Glim said. "I'll get directly to the point," the man said. "It has been noticed that you are of an unknown physical type, or at least one that hasn't been seen in my memory, which is quite long." "I'm an Argonian," he said. "A word," the man said. "Not a word that signifies to me. That is my race. Another word I do not know." The little man cocked his head. "So it is true then. You are from outside. From some place other than Umbriel?" "I'm from here, from Tamriel." "Exciting. Another meaningless word." "This is Umbriel, and no place else." "Your Umbriel is in my world, in my country." "Blackmarsh." "It is? I dare say it isn't, but as interesting as this subject may be to you, it holds little appeal for me. What I'm interested in is what you are. What part of Umbriel will you become?" "I don't understand." "You aren't the first newcomer here, but you may be the first with that sort of body. But Umbriel will remember your body, and others with similar corpora will come along in time, many or a few, depending on what use you are." "What if I'm of no use at all?" "Then we can't permit Umbriel to learn your form. We must cut your body away from what inhabits it and send it back out into the void." "Why not simply let me go? Return me to Tamriel. Why kill me?" "Ah, a soul is too precious for that. We could not think of letting one waste. Now, tell me about this form of yours." I am as you see me," he replied. "Are you some sort of Daedra?" Glim gaped his mouth. "You know what Daedra are?" he asked the man. "The man we talked to below didn't." "Why shouldn't he?" the man said. "We have incorporated Daedra in the past, but none exist here now." "Are you Daedra?" "No." "Very well, good. That makes things less complicated. Those spines on your head, what is their function?" "They make me handsome, I suppose, to others of my race. More to some than to others. I try to take care of them." "And that membrane between your fingers?" "For swimming." "Swimming?" "Propelling oneself through water. My toes are webbed as well." "You move through water?" The fellow blinked. "Often." "Beneath the surface?" "Yes." "How long can you remain beneath before having to surface for air?" "Indefinitely. I can breathe water." The fellow smiled. "Well, you see how interesting. What Umbriel lacks, it will seek out." Glim shifted on his feet, but since he didn't understand what the man was talking about, he didn't answer. "The sump, yes. I think you might do well in the sump. But let's finish the interview, shall we? Now, your skin. Those are scales, are they not?" Well, that was the first part of the book. Wow! Truly beautiful. He saw the blow coming from the shift of the Red Guard's shoulder, but it was fast, so fast, his dodge to the right almost didn't succeed, and although the edge didn't bite, the flat skimmed his bicep. He swung his sword at her ribs. but that same quickness danced her just beyond the reach of his blade. Right idea, Atribus, he heard Galan shout. She backed off a bit, her gaze fixed on his. Yes, she said. Try that again. Got your breath yet? I'll have yours in a minute, she replied. She appeared to relax, but then suddenly blurred into motion. He backpedaled, but once again her speed surprised him. He caught her attack on the flat of his weapon and felt the weight of her steel smack against the guard. Then she was past, and he knew she would take a cut at his head from back there. So he dropped, rolled, and came back up. He saw it again, that slight slumping before she renewed her attack. Again he parried and broke the distance, but not quite so much. She circled. He waited. Her shoulders sagged, and he suddenly threw himself forward behind his blade, so that while she was starting up to step and lift her weapon, his point hit her solar plexus and went down hard. Sup, Noah? How's it going? I'm okay, Tom. How are you? How are you? I really love your Duolingo little badge. It's so cute. Very adorable. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm just chilling. How about you, Tom? What have you been up to lately? Anything exciting? I'm decent, thank you. I'm glad you're doing decent, and I'm glad. Wait, what have you been up to? You got any plans for the weekend? Anyone has any plans for the weekend? I had a golf lesson. Ooh, how did that go? Did you smash it? Do 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 do. Yawn. Anyway, let us continue. We are now reading about Atribus, who is a prince. He followed her, and, as his people cheered, put the dull, rounded point in her face. Yield? She coughed and winced. Yield, she agreed. He offered her his hand, and she took it. Nice attack, she said. I'm glad we were at blunts. You're very fast, he said, but you have a little tell. I do? Well, I'm not sure I want you to know, he said. Next time it might not be blunts. She seemed to be favoring one foot, so he offered her his shoulder. He helped her limp over to the edge of the practice ground, where his comrades watched from their ale benches. Bring us a beer, will you? He called to Dario, the pitcher boy. Aye, Prince, oh my god, he replied. He sat her down a bit apart from the others and watched as she unlaced her practice armor. What was your name again? He asked her. Radhasa, Prince, she replied. And your father was Tralan the Two-Blade from Kespar? Yes, Prince, she replied. He was a good man, one of my father's most valued men. Thank you, Highness. It's nice to hear that. He focused his regard on her more frankly as the armor came off. He was not the handsomest of men, in that you don't resemble him much. Her already dark face darkened a bit more, but her eyes stayed fixed boldly on his. So you think I'm a handsome man? If you were a man, you would be, but I don't see much mannish about you either. I've heard the prince is a flatterer. Yeah, this is not going great. Is this supposed to be flirting? Nah, I'm trash, but I enjoy it, so that's why I played. Did you have a nice weekend? Oh, I had a great weekend. Yeah, I was in Sweden and Denmark, so it was really great. It was really sunny, did a lot of things. It was really cool. Yeah, it was a great trip. I don't know if you saw my pictures in real life pictures. I did share my travels, indeed I did. A very good time, very good time. But yeah, I hope you get better. I mean, it's all about the journey, isn't it, Tom? I'm sure you'll get it in no time. Here's our drink, he said as Dario arrived with the beer. Beer always tasted perfect after a fight, and this time was no different. So why do you seek my service instead of my father's? He asked her. I'm sure he would receive you well. She shrugged. Prince Atribus, your father sits the throne as emperor. In his service, I think I would see little in the way of action. With you, I expect rather the opposite. Yes, he said, that is true. The empire is still reclaiming territory, both literally and figuratively. There are many battles yet to fight before our full glory is reclaimed. If you ride with me, death will always be near. It's not always fun, you know, and it's not a game. I don't think that it is, she said. Very good, he said. I like your attitude. I hope to please you, Prince. You can start pleasing me by calling me simply Atribus. I do not stand on ceremony with my personal guard. Her eyes widened. Does that mean, indeed, finish this beer and then go see Gullen? He will see you equipped, horsed, and boarded, and then perhaps you and I shall speak again. Flirt. He is a flirt too, nah, he is. He's trying his best to be anyway. Anaig saw the murder from the corner of her eye. She was preparing a sauce of clams, butter, and white wine to go on a thin sheet of rice noodle. Of course, none of those things were exactly that. The clams were really something called lampen, but they tasted much like clams. The butter was actually the fat rendered from something which, given Slear's description, was some sort of papa. The wine was wine, and it was white, but it wasn't made from any grape she had ever tasted. The noodles were made from a grain a bit like barley and a bit like rice. She was just happy to be doing something more sophisticated than searing meat, and actually enjoying the alien tastes and structures. The possibilities were exciting. Have a nice lurk, Tom. Queen was at the corner of her vision, and she made a sort of gesture, a quick wave of her arm, but then something peculiar happened. Oral, the underchef whose territory was Gull Manor, suddenly lost his head. Literally, it fell off, and blood jetted in spurts from the still-standing body. Queen stepped away from the corpse as a hush fell over the kitchen. She watched what was left of Oral fall down to the floor. Not good, Slear murmured. Queen's voice rose up, a shriek that somehow still carried words in it. Lord Gull was bored by his prandium for the 4th time in a row. She stood there, staring around, her chest heaving and her eyes flickering murderously about the room. And now we have a mess to clean up and an underchef to replace. Her jittering gaze suddenly focused on an egg. Oh, some slurry. Slear faintly breathed. No. Slear, Queen shouted. Take this station. Bring her with you. Yes, chef, Slear shouted back. She turned and began gathering her knives and gear. Now we're in it, Slear said, deep in it. She killed him, Anaig stuttered. Yes, of course. What do you mean, of course? Look, we cook for 3 lords, right? Prixon, Oroi, and Gol. Most of what we make is for their staff and slaves. That's all you and I have been cooking. That's all I've ever cooked. That's not too dangerous. But feeding the lords themselves it's not easy. It's not only that they are feckles in their tastes, but they compete with one another constantly. Fashions in ingredients, flavor, presentation, color, all these can change very quickly. And now we're cooking for Gol, who doesn't know what he likes. Oral was pretty good. He managed to entertain Gol for the better part of a year. Anaig tried to do the calculations in her head. From various conversations, she reckoned the Umbrielian year at just over half a year on Tamriel. That's not very long, she said. It's not. Hurry, now. We've got to subdue his staff, find out what they know, and have an acceptable dinner for him. What did she kill him with? We call it her fillet knife, but no one really knows. You can't see it, can you? And at times it seems longer than others. We're not quite sure how long it can get. Now, come along. Unless you have more useless questions to slow us down and speed us toward the sump. I do have a question. I don't think it's useless. What? The chef snapped impatiently. When you say we have to subdue his staff, we'll see. It might mean a fight. Have a knife in your hand, but hold it discreetly. Slear's previous staff had consisted of 6 cooks. Their new staff had 8. Aneg and Slear made 10. In his case, subduing them simply meant calming them down and getting them to work, which Slear managed with a minimum of slapping around. So they were soon discussing the Lord's tastes, or at least what little seemed consistent about them. To make things even more fun, it turned out he was having another of the Lords, one who used another kitchen entirely, over for dinner, and about him they knew nothing. What was the last thing he liked? Slear asked Min, who had been Oral's second. A broth suspire made from some sort of beast the taskers brought. Min said. There was a herb as well. Ah, from outside. Can you describe them? Aneg asked. The beast and the herb? I can show them to you, Min replied. They walked over to the cutting counter. That's a hedgehog, Aneg said. The plant, she crushed the pale green leaves between her fingers and smelled them. Eucalyptus. But we used both again today, and you saw the result. You reason from that he's tired of these things? Slear asked. Were they prepared in the same way? Not at all. We toasted the bones to reveal the marrow and fused all with the vapor of the eucalyptus? That doesn't sound good at all, Aneg said. Slear rolled her eyes. Quickly now. I don't need to say this again, so get it the first time. Some in Umbriel, us, the slaves, the laborers and the tenders, farmers and harvesters, fishers and such, we eat things of gross substance. Meat, grain, vegetable matter. The greatest lords of this city dine only on infusion and distillations of spirituous substance, but between us and them there are lower lords and ladies who still require matter to consume, but also have some degree of liquor spiritualis infused in their diet. But because they desire the highest status, which most will never achieve, they pretend to it, preferring to dine mostly on vapors, scents, gases. Of course. Through it. They're going through it, man. They are. Anyway, let us continue. Of course, they must consume some sort of substance. They like broths, marrows, gelatins, she sighed. Enough. I will explain more later. For now, we have to make something. She turned to Min. What else can you tell me of his tastes? In the end, they made a dish of 3 things. A foam of the roe of an Umbrielian fish, delicate crystals like spheral snowflakes made of sugar, and 12 other ingredients that would sublimate on touching the tongue, and a cold, thin broth of 16 herbs, including the eucalyptus, which had the aroma of each ingredient, but tasted like nothing at all. The servers took it away, leaving Slear wringing her hands. With good cause, because as they were all turning in for the night, Queen found Aneg and Slear. It bored him, she said. Again. He's bored. Make it right, will you? And then she left. We're dead, Slear moaned. Dead already. Aneg was lightheaded, almost to the point of being sick. Her teeth felt on edge from the foreign, probably toxic elements she had been handling. When she closed her eyes, she kept seeing Oral's head come off, and the blood, and this strange slow slump to the floor. In her third hour of sleeplessness, she felt her amulet wake against her skin. The slippery voice of a night bird drew the sleep from Atybris and delivered it to the moons. He rose, taking a moment to study Radhasa's slumbering form. Then he went out on the balcony. Wait, what? Oh my god, they're sleeping together? They just met, bro? That's crazy. Sorry, that's what it sounds like, because he can see her sleeping, so she's next to him, so they're in the same room. And he's the prince, so he's not going to sleep in the barracks, is he? So they're sleeping together? Ooh la la! Then he went out on the balcony to gaze out at the darkened but still wondrous city, at the white gold tower rising to meet the stars. He'd chosen this villa for just this view. He loved looking at the palace. Not so much. They always tried to, like, get my attention, but I'm like, I'm still streaming. Leave! We're in the vibe. We're in the zone right now, guys. Just call him a rat. No, that's mean. I'm not gonna call him a rat. That'd be silly. Right, guys. Lock in. Lock in. I want to get to this last page. Tell him he's cute, like a rat. But rats are not cute. That doesn't make any sense, silly Billy. Let's finish this and then that's it. Here we go. A glance to the left showed him Gulan's silhouette at the far end of the balcony, which fronted several rooms. Surely you aren't on guard, Atrebus said. She's new, his friend answered, nodding his head towards Atrebus's room. Your father wouldn't approve. My father believes that anything between a commander and one of his soldiers weakens his authority. I believe that friends fight better and more loyally than mere employees. I drink with my warriors, share their burdens. You and I are friends. Do you think I'm weak? Gulan shook his head. No, but we are not so intimate. Atrebus snorted. Intimate? You and I are far more intimate than Radhasa and me. Sex is sex, just another kind of fight. What the hell? Okay, so confirm that they are doing it. I love all of my people equally, you know, but not for all of the same qualities. Radhasa has qualities that inspire a particular kind of friendship. So do Corintha, Selly, and Fury. Yes, and there's no jealousy there. No more than if I play cards with Lupo instead of Ace-Fulf. He cocked his head. Why bring this up now? Do you know something I don't? Gulan shook his head. No, he replied. That's just me, a warrior. You're right. They all love you, and she'll be no different. Still, it's good you can tell me these worries, Atrebus said. I'm not afraid to hear what you're thinking, not like my father, surrounded by his flunkies who tell him only what he wants to hear. I love him, Gular, and I respect him for everything he's done, but it's the things he hasn't done, won't do. He trailed off. This is about Arenthia, isn't it? We only need a small force, Atrebus said. 1,000, let's say. The locals will rise and fight with us. I know they will, and then we gain a foothold in Valenwood. Give him time. He may yet come around. I'm restless, Gulan. We haven't done anything worthy of us in months, and yet there's so much to be done. Perhaps he has plans for you there, Treb. What sort of plans? What have you heard? Gulan's lips pulled back from his teeth. What? Some say it's time for you to marry. Marry? Why in the world would I want to do that? I'm only 22, for God's sake. You're the crown prince. You're expected to produce an heir. Has my father talked to you about this behind my back? Did he tell you to put this in my ear? Gulan drew back a bit. No, of course not. But there are rumors in the court. I hear them. There are always rumors in the court. That's why I hate it so. You'll have to get used to it someday. Not anytime soon. Maybe never. Maybe I'll perish gloriously in battle before it comes to that. That's not funny, Treb. You shouldn't talk like that. I know, he sighed. I'll go to court soon. See if he's planning on saying anything to my face. And if he won't give us the men to go to Arenthia, maybe he'll let us go north to train. There are plenty of bandits up around Shaden Hall. It would be something. Gulan nodded, and Atribus clapped him on the shoulder. I didn't mean to accuse you of anything, old friend. It's just that when it comes to matters like this, I find myself unaccountably irritated. No harm, Gulan said. I think I'm okay here, he said. I've subdued her. Go to bed. Gulan nodded and vanished into his room. Atribus stayed at the rail, contemplating the night sky and hoping Gulan was wrong. Marriage? It could be forced on him. Would his father do that? It didn't really matter, he supposed. He wouldn't let a wife keep him home, away from his proper business. If that was his father's intention, he was going to be disappointed. A faint whir caught his attention, and he turned to find what at first seemed like a large insect darting toward him. He leapt back, suppressing a cry, his hand going for a weapon that wasn't there. But then it settled on the balustrade, and he saw that it was something much more curious. A bird made of all metal. It was exquisite, really. It sat there, staring at him with its artificial eyes. It seemed to be expecting something from him. He noticed that there was a little hinged door, like an oddly shaped locket. He reached, then hesitated. It could be some sort of bizarre assassin's device. He might open it to find a poisoned needle pricking him, or some dire magic unleashed. But that seemed a little complicated. Why not put poison on the bird's talon and have it scratch him? It could have done that if it had wanted to. Still. He went back into his room, found his dagger, and returning with it, and standing to the side, flipped the locket open. The bird chirped a bright little tune, then fell silent. Otherwise, nothing happened. Inside was a dark, glassy surface. What are you? He wondered aloud. But it didn't answer, so he decided to leave it where it was and have Yerva and Breslin examine it in the morning. They knew a lot about this sort of thing, more than he did. As he turned to go, however, he heard a woman's voice, so faint he couldn't make it out. He thought for a moment it was Radhasa waking, but it came again, and this time he was sure it was coming from behind him, from the bird. He went back and peered into the opening. Hello? The voice came. Yes, hello, he said. Who is this? Oh, thank the divines, the woman said. I had almost given up hope. It's been so long. Are you... look, I feel silly talking into a bird. Can you get to that right off and perhaps talk a bit louder? I'm sorry, I can't talk louder. I don't want to be discovered. That's Ku you have there. She's enchanted, and I have this locket with me so we can speak to one another. If it were lighter, we could see each other as well. I could sort of make out your head. I don't see anything. Yes, it's pitch black here. Where? Where are you? We're still over Black Marsh, I think. I've only had a few glimpses of the outside. Over Black Marsh? Yes. There's a lot to explain, and it's urgent. I sent Ku to find Prince Atribus. The voice faltered. Oh my, you are the prince, aren't you? Or else Ku wouldn't have opened. Indeed, I am Prince Atribus. Your Highness, forgive me for addressing you in such a familiar manner. That's no matter. And who might you be? My name is Enaig Hoynart. And you're in some sort of captivity? Yes, Prince Atribus, but it's not me I'm worried about. I have a lot to tell you and not much time before dawn. I believe our entire world is in terrible danger. I'm listening, he replied. And he did listen as her husky lilt carried him through the night, across the Cyrodiil and fetid Black Marsh, to a place beyond imagination and a terror the mind shuddered to grasp. And when at last she had to go, and the moons were wan ghosts in a milky sky, he straightened and looked off east. Then he went to his wardrobe room, where Turs, his dressers, was just walking. I'll be going to court, he told Turs. Titus Mead had been and was many things. A soldier in an outlaw Yes. A soldier in an outlaw army, a warlord in Colovia, a king in Cyrodiil, and emperor, and to Atrebus, a father. They looked much alike, having the same lean face and strong chin, the same green eyes. He'd gotten his own slightly crooked nose and blonde hair from his mother. His father's hair was auburn, although now it was more than half silver. His father sat back in his armchair. He removed the circlet from his curly locks, rubbed his thickly lined forehead, and sighed. Black Marsh? Black Marsh, father. That's what she said. Black Marsh, he repeated, settling the crown back on his head. Well then? Well, what, sire? Well then, why are we discussing this? He turned his head toward his minister, an odd, pudgy man with thick eyebrows and mild blue eyes. Hiram, can you tell me why we're discussing this? Hiram sniffled. I have no idea, Majesty, he said. Black Marsh is rather a thorn in our side, isn't it? The Argonians refuse our protection. Let them deal with their problems. Something swept through Atrebus so strong he couldn't identify it at first, but then he understood. Certainty. Before there was a question about who Anaig might actually be, what her motives were, she could easily have been some sort of sorceress, tricking him to his doom. He'd wanted to believe her. His first instincts told him she was genuine. Now he knew his instincts were dead on once again. You already knew about this, he accused. We've heard things, the minister replied. Heard? He spurted off. Father, a flying city, an army of walking dead. This doesn't concern you? You said they were moving north, towards Morrowind, and at a snail's pace. Our reports say the same, so no, I'm not concerned. Not even enough to send a reconnaissance? Oh my god, I don't know how to say that word. The Synod and College of Whispers have both been tasked to discover what they can, Hiram said, and of course, some specialists are on their way. But there's no need for a military expedition until they threaten our borders. Certainly not one led by the Crown Prince. But Anaig may not survive that long. So it's the girl, Hiram said. That's why you want to mount an expedition into Black Marsh? For the sake of a girl? Don't talk to me like that, Hiram. Atrebus warned. I am your prince, after all. You seem to forget that. It's not the girl, his father snorted. It's the adventure. It's the book they'll write about it, the songs they will sing. Atrebus felt his cheeks burn. Father, that's nonsense. You say it's not our problem, but when it's made everyone in Blackmarsh and Morrowind into corpse warriors, it will then turn on us. Every day we wait, its army grows stronger. Why not fight a small battle now rather than a huge one later? Are you now lecturing me on strategy and tactics? His father snapped. I took this city with under 1,000 men. I routed Erar Orlin's northward thrust with barely twice that. And I hammered this empire back together with a handful of rivets. Do not dare to question that I have this situation in hand. Besides, Hiram added, you don't know what it is coming here at all. You don't know that it is coming here at all, Prince. It seems to have come from nowhere. Probably it will return there. That's a stupid assumption to make. If it comes for any part of the empire, we will be ready for it, the emperor said. You will not chase after this thing. That is my last word on the matter. The tone was final. Atrebus glared at his father and the minister. Then, after the most perfunctory of bows, he spun on his heel and left. He sat outside on the steps for a few moments, trying to cool off, get his thoughts together. He was almost ready to leave when he looked up at approaching footsteps. It was a young man with a thin, ascetic face, freckles, and red hair. He wore an imperial uniform. Treb! Atrebus stood and the two clapped each other in a hug. You're thin, Florius, he said. Your mother's not feeding you anymore. Not so much. It's mostly your father doing that now. Treb stepped back and regarded his old friend. You made captain! Congratulations! Thank you. I should never have let my father have you, Atrebus said. You should be riding with me. I should like that, Florius said. It's been a long time since we had an adventure together. Do you remember that time we snuck off into the market district? I remember my father's guards dragging us back by the ears, Atrebus said. But if you want to arrange a transfer, I've been assigned to command the garrison at Water's Edge, Florius said. But maybe when that assignment is done, I'll come looking for you. Atrebus said, Divines, it's good to see you, Florius. Do you have time for a drink? He paused, then shook his head. No, I need to see to something right now, but I will see you in the future. Right then, Florius said. And the two men parted company. Atrebus nodded to himself and went to meet Galan. He found him near the gate. How did it go? Galan asked. Gather everyone at my house in Ion. We can supply there and be on our way by tomorrow. Be quiet about it. That well, eh? He shifted. You're going against the Emperor's wishes? Are you sure you want to do that? I've done it before, which is why he's likely to suspect and have you watched, which is why we're being discreet. Disperse the guard as if I've given them a holiday and have them come individually to Ion. You and I will take the way through the sewers. Galan looked doubtful, but he nodded. Atrebus clapped him on the shoulder. You'll see, old friends. This will be our greatest victory yet. Oh, goodness. Okay. That's where I wanted to get. I just wanted to get to the next chapter because I was like, I can't leave at the middle of the chapter. That'd be very ridiculous. But yeah, we made it. Nothing can possibly go wrong. So true. But I do agree with Atrebus that it's really stupid that lets his island just go on. Like you said, the army is just gonna grow, and it's just gonna turn into a problem. Titus Mead is a fucking idiot, dude. Anyway, thank you so much for joining, guys. I hope you had a good time. I hope you had a cozy time. I know not everyone likes the reading, but I thought this was very applicable once again. Because it's Elder Scrolls. So are we wrapping up? Thank you for the cozy stream. Hey, sleep well. You sleep well too. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I just saw your meme about the scooters. Yeah, thank you for joining. Desire, Tuna, Say, Zento, Tom, Bogdan as well, Puma, Iron, Gecko. It was very nice to see you all. And yeah, I will be back on Sunday, and we will be playing some Oblivion. Very cool. But yeah, good night everyone. Take care of yourself. Have a very good weekend, and see you very soon. Good night. Eat enough and sleep enough, and all that very important. If you don't, I will be in your walls. So yeah, have a good party. Thank you. Tell Koopsie happy birthday again. I will. I'm sure he will be happy to hear it. But yeah, good night everyone.